Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for the traditional meeting with the PAC experts. Opening the ALL4PACK exhibition. What is this committee all about? You have a rogues galleries of the experts, about 18 main prescribers for brands or for retailers and e-commerce. Set up this committee, this think tank working for 2 years before the packaging show starts. Our role as a PAC expert committee is to try to find the challenges facing packaging, try in this way to guide the industry as to the main challenges to be met. We've had over the last 2 years set up a roadmap for packaging where we advanced some points such as the value of active packaging, smart packaging, and connected packaging, which are called smart packaging, which we call ultra smart packs this year in French. It's a very important development for packaging. Also, we talked about e-commerce, multi-channel distribution, and the need to adapt our packagings to the new or different channels of distribution. We worked on the challenges for 2 years, and we wondered how far you should go in development of active packaging for the consumers. And the consumer, what is the consumer thinking about the packaging? That's the question we have before us. And ALL4PACK asked obstacle to carry out a poll, a survey. This will be now looked at so that we may refer to the consumer's perception and to see how we will look at the future. To introduce yourself, Arnaud, we have the pleasure of welcoming some members of the PAC Expert Committee. Arnaud, would you like to introduce yourself, sir? Good. I'm Arnaud Rollin, in charge of RSA, CSR at Coca-Cola. I'm in charge of the packaging development for L'Oréal. Name is
and I work in ENTREPRISE as new technologies and development manager.
Thank you. To welcome to reach you in Paris.
Bonjour, je suis Antoine Martinez.
Martinez from a perfume business. I'm Françoise, LOCHET, in charge of the development of products and pack developments at the EXPANSCIENCE laboratories.
I'm in the global marketing, head of global marketing at MERCK, Performance Material Division.
Thank you, Marco. Can keep your microphone. So, vous le constatez, effectivement, ce comité PAC Expert.
Committee has 3 representatives from Spain, Italy, and Germany. The poll taken asked for the opinion of 4 categories of consumers in 4 countries so that they may address the value of packaging. They were asked, what's the use of packaging? What you can see here is that overall, globally, 35% of consumers in the 4 countries concerned feel that packaging is above all a source of protection for the product. Next, the second aspect comes into play. They feel that packaging will be used to provide information. And third, for the 4 countries, it will make it possible to choose the right dose of product to fight against waste. I am surprised by the fact that only in the 4th rank we'll have, under the consumer, the point that packaging is interesting and adds value thanks to its functions. And the last item, packaging for the consumer means to help the consumer to a lower extent, to help sorting packaging waste. It's a bit surprising What's surprising is that the four countries have different perceptions. Italians and Spaniards will find that packaging provides added value because of its convenience, whereas we, the French, well, we feel that it's a source of information given. And in Germany, we expect the packaging to provide information on the sorting of waste. I was surprised by the results. What about you guys? What's your opinion? It's a great survey pointing to diverse answers. We have 4 major countries. If we have taken the poll worldwide, our consumers are everywhere in the world. Every consumer has habits and customs and expectations, and our duty is to meet expectations. I am the spokesman for my business at L'Oréal, but the purpose of packaging, which is the first link of the product with the consumer, is to satisfy expectations. This underpins the idea that we want to look for the consumer, look for her needs, and to meet them. I do agree with this. Consumers are different. The expectations are quite diverse. The challenge for major brands is to adapt. We note a change in the consumption patterns toward more on-the-fly packaging. People are more and more mobile. They want to have practical, convenient packaging. And also, there's a movement toward packaging which is smaller, more customized, less generic. It's a major trend, a mega trend, whatever the market. So the challenge for industry is to meet challenges and the best. To continue on the agribusiness side.
Word, actually, it's a bit different. I mean, the product is very particular and it's a traditional product. So it's not only the market, but also the type of product you have that changes a lot. So we can consider there are some basic functionality and some extended functionality. So protection and basic information can be considered basic, but then when you go, for example, through connectivity or smart packages, or that can be ergonomy or extra functionality, then that is something that you add for the customer. And this is, in my opinion, very important to reach the customer and give also a nice product they want to buy, and also an emotional feeling from the brand at the end.
Okay, is it the same in Germany?
In Germany, I mean, there's always...
Yes, it's better. You have to put the microphone here.
Okay, like you said, it's basic and value, and it seems that in different cultures it is different. What is basic need versus the added value. This is already today the case, and let's see how digitalization will change it, the internet purchase, because packaging is known, the point of sales, that you get a purchase rate, and the function more the repurchase rate. Yeah? That seems to be different in different cultures, but I'm curious to see how the digitalization and purchasing more and more on internet will change this as well. Yeah?
Du coup, pour tout ce qui est dermo-cosmétique.
For H&B products and skin products, is there a difference? What comes out of the survey in terms of protection and communication is what we perceive. We carried out studies for babies with the Mistela brand. We carried out on-site studies. There's a need for convenience. What comes out less in the study is felt in on-site studies we carried out. Jose, what about luxury products? You're into luxury products? Yes, I do agree. Consumers think that the product must be protected and stiff, but they want ergonomics communication. So, Arnaud, I'm turning to you Philippe, with like so global brands as yours, turn into consumers having different cultures would mean designing the product differently, customizing the packagings sold worldwide. Are things prohibited in the packaging of design? No, from one country to the next. As far as Europe is concerned, packaging is quite identical in our marketplace. What will change basically is the mixture, the different types of sizes and formats, different types of materials used. You may have glass bottles which are more heavy in other countries. It does correspond to occasions to consume. In Spain, for example, the out-of-home market is highly developed, more than in France. You're going to have naturally smaller sizes, nomad, on-the-go sizes. That's the consumer. His habits will determine down the line the type of packaging you're going to find in every marketplace. The difference is based on the materials, the volume. What about design? Likewise for L'Oréal, it is similar for L'Oréal. To make my point, a sachet will be sold in India, a unit dose of shampoo. A tube will sell very well. In India, it was less well perceived or accepted in Europe, whereas a glass jar is perceived by Europeans. You got to adapt to every market. The reason why the unit dose of the tube works quite well in India is because of people having no money. The consumer doesn't have the means to buy a whole bottle, so you got to adapt the content to what people can afford. And the tube has an advantage. You can dose and you don't lose any product. You don't waste any product. So it's clear that you got to know your consumer and know what are expectations and meet them the best you can. It's what you said, Antonio. The cost is a key element to choose your packaging when you go abroad. Yes, of course. Products are the same, but the packaging is different. Sometimes it's complicated. It depends on countries. Systems differ. Based on the country, some people would like to get smaller unit doses. Depending on people who are single or married, they want a smaller dose or smaller unit. Laurence, you said that in your studies, Françoise, you said that you've seen that convenience and functionalities of packaging came out more. Of course, yes, it's where it was interesting to see. We carried a study in Spain and in France. We saw different habits and customs in France, for example, moisturizing the baby's skin is a constraint, whereas it was a real pleasure in Spain. Packaging was important because you could sample the product in Spain. It was a moment of pleasure to sample the product. So environmental protection has an impact also on the design of packaging for chemical products, for example, or H&B product. Is it a value which is shared in many cultures, protecting the environment thanks to the packaging in Germany? Marc Hunger?
A lot of people are taking care about the sustainability view on the packaging. And this is a type of mindset, but this was developed because of the political discussions as well, where to dispose, CO2 footprint, discussion about environment. And I think the regulations, even from the government, is changing, so that there is a pressure for the companies doing that. And at least in Germany, if you, as a brand, are stating that you're doing that, saving energy, saving CO2, having something sustainable, you can sell more, at least in Germany. That's an argument that people are listening to.
Mais du coup, ça dépend du type de produit. C'est ce que vous nous avez dit aussi. Et j'imagine.
On the type of product. For coffee, people are looking for convenience of the packaging and not environmental protection. What about you? What about it?
They are looking for a good experience when they have a coffee. So a good coffee, a nice experience, nice places. But then, of course, on the industrial side, we need to deal with different packages, but in our case, all produced in Italy. So it is something quite complicated. We are not global and producing all over the world, but distributing all over the world. So we try to give a sort of guidelines in the design in order to achieve good results in terms of environment and recyclability of packages, and you're working a lot regarding compostability and future solution for the environment. In addition, we work on functionalities, additional functionalities, which can be really a plus for the customer.
Merci de parler d'expérience.
Thank you. When you talk about customer experience, packaging experience, it's a word we're using increasingly to qualify the consumer attitude when he or she has the product in the right packaging. We ask another question in this survey about active packaging, smart packaging, connected packaging, the smart packaging and ultra-smart packaging. To what extent is this packaging contributing to the consumer experience? We see that in terms of the 4 countries, majority of consumers spell out and specify that the packaging which is active and smart and connected may contribute to improving food safety or product safety. If you add up all the other answers, it may help ensuring safety of consumers and quality of life. Majority of people tell us, yes, it will, be used for this. If you look at the result of the poll taken, 34% of all the consumers of the 4 countries polled tell packaging, active packaging, smart packaging is interesting, but it should demonstrate what's the use of it. When I look at this, I said, God, are we not too ahead of the curve? As you can see, you got specific attributes of each country, and the French are very pragmatic, very practical, whereas the Germans, quote unquote, will find a value if it's related to environmental protection, whereas Italian and Spaniards will find a value for the active and connected packaging. Are we not ahead of the curve? Jump the gun? Are we ahead of the curve, ahead of the customers? How do you feel this? Are we ahead of the curve or too far ahead? In the food industry, for example, in terms of regulation with the active packaging, you got 2 prerequisites for the type of packaging to develop in the future, which is not yet the case. Generally speaking, it should have no impact on the price of the packaging. It's a real obstacle. Consumers are not really to pay for packaging, even if it's connected, when it's too expensive. And second, what's the use of connecting the packaging for what information? That's what the French say. It should not be perceived as a gimmick. The product which is interacting with the consumer should have things to say about manufacturing conditions, the way in which the product was made, and so forth and so on. It's a real issue for development purpose, but also I guess that we are still fiddling about this. When you talk about coffee, you might have, coffee capsules or ordering the machine, or yes? Commanding the machine.
In our case, you could give a lot of information regarding the product itself, and we already did that. You can know from which region and from which valley of that region the coffee you are drinking is coming. This is something that marketing likes a lot, maybe also people. I'm more a technical guy, so it's something that should be proven in terms of selling. Regarding systems, I didn't get really the
It was like, you know, will the coffee cup, the coffee capsule, you know, command and order the machine, right?
No, good coffee. No, it's something not related to coffee. It's related to the customer. This is clear. Maybe you can tell a story. You can explain what you do, and so you can communicate a value that you already have in your company. So this can be very important.
Yes, so, excuse-moi, donc du coup,
So it is more marketing driven. I guess that in luxury, it's marketing driven. Is it marketing driven in luxury? Yes. The smart label, the smart tag is interesting for marketing people to promote the products, to set up a sales campaign. It's important. Also, you can control the gray market also. Oh, the fight against counterfeiting and gray markets, exactly. Yes, the gray market. And also, if you get information on the status of the product, it's perfect for a food product. It's a great path. Likewise for the hygiene H&B products, or is packaging for H&B, or is smart packaging help use products in a better way? In this case, are you going beyond the stage of communication, telling a story?
Maybe you come back to what you said. I think for the consumer, it's all about trust. And in the moment, we sell a lot of taggants and laser marking additives so that our customers can make track and trace, and they can sell that on the market to give trust. The coffee is from that area, or this is an original product, this is not a copy, it's a safe. This is more and more increasing, but you were talking about the consumer and in the future in functional packaging. What I think and what I see is that they really asked to prove themselves that this is a case. And the question is, how should we change the packaging that we can give them that functionality, or with all digitalization and new technologies that they can prove on their own. At the moment, it's trust within the supply chain, but in the future, maybe it will be pushed, or the consumer, the end user is asking for, especially if the internet ordering will increase.
bon, ça veut dire qu'il faut encore attendre un peu, mais dans
Gotta wait some more, but in cosmetics, we've seen things happening on the active packaging, smart packaging. In cosmetics, smart packaging, I don't know, but connected digitization is a mega trend. There's nothing you can do about it. You can discuss about this, you know, looking at the pros and cons, but it will make it possible for us to go further in customization. Today, you do things which are more customized because they are more digitized. The key word is let's not have any gimmick, or if it's connected but it's useless, you won't do it. You were asking for an example, Annette. At LOCHET Cosmetics, we launched a sun patch for La Roche-Posay, which is a patch you put on your skin to capture the sun exposure, to tell the user that when he must use a sunscreen through your mobile, you can know what was the sun equity consumed. Is a real function for helping and protecting the consumer against sunburns. This is the case also when you turn to young kids, or yes, of course, we don't have this yet. It's a wow, temporary effect, a fad. But I guess you're right. That's the future, and we cannot escape this. We got to get ready for this. You said the word, it's a wow effect. This is a question we asked of the consumer. When you're getting a product through e-commerce, do you need to be astonished or flabbergasted by the product? We're surprised, yes. Generally speaking, young people 18, 24 years old are more concerned by the active packaging and smart pack and by the wow effect. Whereas when you look at the 4 countries concerned, asking the consumers, how do you assess the limited series, customized packagings? On a scale from 1 to 10, give us your average score to know how you feel this wow effect. You can see this on the screen again. Results are quite surprising. Germans and the French will give an average score of 3.8 and 3.6 overall on the wow effect. On a scale from 1 to 10, again, it is below the average, whereas while looking at more Italian and Spanish countries, we got 8 or 7 as a score. So I guess you set the record straight. Active smart packaging must be used for something. The wow effect is a fleeting fad. It can last, but also fall by the wayside. Was it caricature, or did I really express your views? Beyond this survey showing variations from 3.8 to 7. Well, answers are quite diverse. The consumer basically is looking for something which is innovative. The wow effect is quite great, but you're looking for excellence as a consumer. Excellence on the service and excellence on customer experience. You talked in your questionnaire about e-commerce, how we could make sure that e-commerce will make the people to preserve and provide excellent service in luxury products. The beauty advisor, the BA, the BC, explaining the product, does participate in the customer experience. Of course, it's a challenge to be able to allow the consumer to find this wow effect when opening up the box, when getting the product at home. In luxury, Antonio, are you doing something specific for the wow effect? Of course. We have limited series, for example, limited editions we're putting out. It's great to improve the margins. It's complicated also. The wow effect, communication of packaging is quite difficult. But the first image is packaging, which you communicate. Likewise, it's very important. It's quite interesting to work. And for coffee e-commerce is a way of retailing which obligates you to develop specific packaging with a wow effect, surprising the consumer in e-commerce?
Of course, but in a traditional product like ours, it's not that easy. Of course, maybe the numbers could be also that Italian and Spanish people are more emotional, so they really are more impressed from this wow effect, maybe. But I would say that young people like to try new solutions, and maybe they can really understand more the core value of the products. They try to see what is behind, and the difficulty is to have the second buy of the product. That's the point.
D'accord. Et tout ceci étant sous
is underlying all the environmental protection. So thank you, Jose, thank you, Walter. I'm going to ask 2 other representatives of the packaging committees to join us on the rostrum to talk about the next issue. In this survey, we asked the consumers, what are the information necessary and useful in the packaging? I guess I was quite surprised. Once again, it is quite practical, pragmatic. We see that information of the product is necessary and useful, the origin of the product, of the producer, which is claimed, and of course we're going to see all that is relating to allergens, and this will concern food products or skincare products. And down there, you can see that there's a small percentage asking for information necessary for sorting of waste. Before sorting of waste, could you introduce yourself, Valérie? Valérie Herrenschmidt. I'm head of customer relations in the world of retailing and beverages at Eco-Emballage. David Herrenschmidt, and I am in charge of the development strategy for supply chain of the Galeries Lafayette Group. Before getting into the nitty-gritty, I'd like to ask you a question. You're in the food industry, so Arnaud, you know about the nutritional values displayed on the packaging. Will this provide a plus point to the consumer?
Everything that leads to greater transparency for consumers is positive. That's progress. We discussed digitization recently, and this helps us to deliver all this information to consumers regarding manufacturing, the sourcing of ingredients, and so on and so forth. These are steps in the right direction. This makes things more complex for companies and for retailers. But progress is being made, and you just can't stop a movement like that, as Philippe said. This is the sense of history. Now, regarding display and labeling in general, Valérie, I'm amazed to see that as far as the consumers are concerned, only 4% of people in Europe say that the packaging should give information on sorting. Well, what can be done to encourage sorting? Well, if you want to look at sorting, why do people sort their packaging? There are two factors. First, because they understand why. And second, because they can do it effectively. So the message on the package will indicate how to do things properly, and sometimes you can add the benefits. And second, you need the infrastructure. If I want to sort, but if I can't do it in my building or my street, then it's not going to work. So information on the label will help to overcome the first problem. Second, bear in mind that this survey is a European survey. If you remember what Philippe said, you'll have different things in different countries. In France, 40% of household packages include instructions for sorting. And we saw that this met consumer expectations. So when you see the little label on the package in France saying that you should take a combi pack, recycle the cardboard, throw out the plastic film. And this met one of the expectations in France. Eco-Emballage is only active in France. Does this mean that you'll have to provide sorting instructions in other countries? Could you have something uniform across Europe? Well, that would be great if we had that. The basic idea is that one day you wouldn't have to provide instructions for sorting on labels. Everyone should know this. We're going to work on sorting for plastic containers. So by the end of 2022, we'll be able to sort by including all household packaging in the bin for recycling. It will be sorted afterwards. Okay, David, another question for you. We ask people what types of package they want for e-commerce. These are the results of our survey. Most people wanted sturdy packaging, but we did see some differences across countries. The French would like e-commerce packaging to be recycled. The Germans focus on robustness of packaging. And then we see other countries in other positions. How do you see e-commerce packaging developing? Will it be as light as possible in order to reduce waste? Or do you think we're going to move towards something that would be reusable, not simply recycled? Or do you think that one day consumers will be able to choose the type of packaging they want, where people could choose to buy a given product and a given type of packaging. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, because I can hear myself when I speak in my... Okay, we're looking at innovation, so we're focusing on the future now. But some e-commerce companies now allow their consumers to choose returnable, reusable packaging. Now, this is something we see in other parts of Europe more than in France. This is something we could see in the future, where consumers have a choice. Now, we have to look at how this is done. Typically, these are deposits. People pay a deposit when they get the box, and there can be coupons or vouchers. But you could imagine that e-commerce sites could allow consumers to return the package. And this means that consumers would probably buy into that. How do I see packaging evolving in the future? To answer your question more directly, if you look at the key issues, how much time do we have? I have no idea how much time we have. Do we have 2 minutes, 5 minutes? Go ahead and answer the question, David. David, go ahead. But it's always paradoxical. You want a package which is going to be rigid and processable, because we're looking at mechanized packing lines. So we want things to be effective. We're also talking about the customer experience in packaging. You have to combine the two. So innovation, therefore, has to take these two aspects into account, robustness and also consumer acceptability. Now, I'm in favor of right packaging, where we reduce the packaging, but also we have a more effective customer experience, because we have to deliver the packaging which suits the product. Isn't that one of the big issues for e-commerce today, where you want packaging which is the right size in light of the package which is sent to the consumer? Are things developing? Well, you see consumers up in arms when they order lipstick and they get a huge box. But remember, here we see the exhibitors with their packaging tools, the packaging systems and machines, which tend to be standardized. But I don't think that everyone's focused on reusability. Okay, Valerie. I have no idea how much time we have. Okay, I'm told we have 2 more minutes. Okay, in the expert committee for this show, we discussed recycling, but some people want to move towards zero waste. What do you think is going to promote this trend? Is it going to be returnable packaging? Will it be biodegradable packaging? What's going to help us to move towards zero waste? Well, I don't really want to focus on zero waste in a zero waste society. That would take a day. But if we look at just packaging, the question is, what are companies going to do and what are consumers going to do so that we no longer dispose of packaging in landfills? Because the problem now is that some things are simply dumped, buried in landfills. Now, everyone agrees now in France that when we stop using landfills, we're going to improve reuse and recycling. Now, you can come up with something which is greater, where we recycle, and we can also reuse packages. Every driver is going to be beneficial here. We don't want to talk about either recycling or reuse. You can do both. And we want to avoid using, actually burying this in landfills. Okay, now companies don't do the landfill work for their products. How do you see things developing in the future? Are we going to have deposits for packaging where you return them and get your money back? Are we going to have smart packaging? Well, Annette, all of these things are going to be developed in the future. Now, the key point is that if it's useful, it's something that we're going to work on, we're going to optimize. This means that we want to reduce the weight of packaging with eco-design. We want the least impact on the environment with final use. Well, what we want to do is circularize our packaging, and packaging has been involved in this for over 20 years with eco-emballage in France and sorting. All households in France are now capable of sorting their waste. Not all forms of waste, not all forms of plastic, but we're moving in that direction. Today, 67% of household packaging in France is recycled. We've covered considerable ground so far. So this means that all packaging can be circularized in industry. So we have lots of small French companies involved in this process, and we're moving forward. We decided to invest directly in plastic recycling in order to see to it that every old plastic bottle can become a new old plastic bottle. Could you say something? In industry, we know what has to be done, and we're moving in this direction. And we saw that consumers have to be educated regarding sorting, and we're going to focus on that. And in e-commerce, we see this developing. Companies want to manage the end-of-life part of their products. Well, we're not involved in design, but we are attentive to recycling. We choose the right materials. We limit the use here, and then we encourage consumers to recycle. Now, currently, we don't control reverse logistics. There are tremendous challenges for the supply chain to handle reverse logistics. Okay, Marc, to wrap up, we know that there are deposits on packaging in Germany. How do you see this developing for German consumers? Will we see more recycling, more smart packaging? Will we see more safe packaging? What's going to happen in Germany?
I think the quality must stay, that the consumer has a good quality perception of the product, and there will be not that answer that it is everything on recycling or everything on reuse or reduce. It will be a mixture. I think reduce will be always discussed, because if you get a product and it's too bulky and a lot of packaging, then you make up your mind, say, is this necessary? This is always a story, and it should be done, and this will help. And if it's then recycled or reduced, the consumer will accept both where it makes sense.
Ben écoutez, depuis 92, on s'aperçoit que les deux pays, Allemagne et France, sont...
Well, since 1992, we see that Germany and France have moved forward. There's no dogma saying it's 100% recycling, 100% reuse, and that all types of packaging can be reutilized somewhere in the world and in the process. So thank you very much, and maybe we could be back together in 2 years' time for the next meeting. Thank you very much.